Greetings petrolheads, my name is the Tom, you're on my gaming channel, and it's time for another episode of Automation, the car company tycoon game. As you can probably see, I moved to the open beta, which also means the cars that I built before that don't work anymore. That's sad, but you know, things change in life and you gotta adapt to those changes as much as you can. And first up, for the users that previously had the mod pack installed, you can go to workshop right here and you will find pretty much all the mods that people have done for the game so far. Not all of them yet, particularly VMO's mods are not included on the workshop page, but you know, you can probably live without them. So yeah, we're gonna go to the sandbox mode here because I have some cars to review today. And yeah, you can see this page now looks like this instead of, you know, like 200 models down this list. I have some cars from Siam Automotive Industries to review. It is for one the Turismo and the other one is going to be the Protage. So this is a two-door coupe, and let's go through it step by step. It is front-engined, obviously, like just by looking at this body. Oh, we have a V6 in there. That is the main reason why, you know, people moved over to the open beta right away. It's because of the V6s that it includes. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of V6s in real life, and that probably puts me into the minority, but it's nice to have a different engine type, and it's nice to have a 6-cylinder engine that will fit into smaller engine base. So back to the SAI Turismo 300S. It is a corrosion-resistant monocoque with double wishbone front and multi-link rear, very advanced suspension for 1985, and plus 3 quality into the chassis and polymer panels. So as far as the looks go, this is a pretty standard front end, like not too fancy, not too exotic, classic 80s. Looks good. And on the rear end, however, we do have quad exhaust and a wing. So this is anything else than conservative. Yeah, also the exhaust placement is a little bit funky, but it's fine. It's okay. And let's get right into the engine here. It is a 3.2 liter V6 with 24 valves from a dual overhead cam with 4 valves per cylinder. It's made entirely from aluminium to keep it light. Cast iron crank because it's not making ridiculous amounts of torque. I-beam steel for higher revs, and same goes for the forged pistons. We do have ever so slight valve float. The compression ratio is 10.0 to 0. It's relatively high. Cam profile is at a reasonable 50. It is naturally aspirated with 4-barrel carburetors and twin, like 4-barrel twin carburetors. So this is not a, you know, Dodge 6-pack. It would be an 8-pack, if you will. And 13 to 0 fuel mixture is more on the richer side for, you know, standard street engines, but it's still reasonable. It's just that the fuel economy won't be very good probably. Ignition timing 91 is very advanced, and 6600 RPM limit is quite good for a 1985. And so are the long tubular headers with dual exhausts. The exhaust diameter is not excessive. And it sounds like this. So this is very loud indeed. Two straight through mufflers. Yeah. Look at those pistons now. I like it. And so let's go to the trim. We got a 5-speed manual gearbox with pretty average spacing. A little bit of overdrive, viscous LSD, nothing too fancy. We got a lot of wheel spin. That's what I can notice right away. 16-inch rims, a pretty nice handling graph right here. Sports tires, 215s up front and in the rear. With some offset though, like you can give this thing wider tires if you want to. It's got plenty of space. It's just that you would have to get rid of some of the rim offset. Or reduce the rim offset. Alloy wheels in 16-inch diameter. It's totally fine. Solid discs with 2 pistons front and 1 rear. It's also quite nice. Then we have a fully clad undertray, which is pretty unusual for 1985, and nicely tuned downforce. We're making a little bit up front and a little bit up rear on the rear end, and you know, equal amounts of downforce on both ends. The cooling airflow is just well, basically about as much as is needed. We get 4 seats with a sport interior, plus free quality actually, and a premium cassette entertainment, no traction control but power steering and ABS, and standard safety. And standard springs and gas monotube dampers, with a custom-made suspension setup, which is more on the sporty side. Also pretty low ride height, but the comfort is still okay with 29.6. That's not terrible. So this is a pretty nice sports car, sports coupe. I would say it would probably rival against cars like the E30 M3, even though it's a little bit. Those quad exhausts are a little bit excessive, I would say. But it's very light with just 1,002 kilograms, 5.9 seconds from 0 to 100 kilometers an hour, which is faster than the E30 M3. What does it do over the quarter mile? Man, this is loud. 13.88 over the quarter mile. And man, those V6s are loud even with the mufflers. Way louder than V8s or any other engines. But there is another trim of this car, so let's look at that as well. It's called the 400 GT, where the other one was the 300S. So I'm guessing, yeah, we can tell right away that this is all-wheel drive, because that's what it says right here. On the chassis, nothing has changed, and the looks are the same as well. Do we not have a lip on the front, how did it make front downforce if it didn't have a lip? I'm curious about that, but let's look at the engine. It's a 4-liter V8, quad cam, 4 valves per cylinder, and we get a forged steel crank here, with again I-beam steel conrods and forged pistons, like on the 300S version, like on the V6 there, I should say. We get a 55 cam profile and 10.5 compression ratio. More than 300 horsepower is definitely gonna get this thing moving, especially with the all-wheel drive. It is naturally aspirated. Again, an 8-pack, if you will. Looks nice. And performance intake for some extra power and responsiveness. And then premium unleaded fuel with 13:0 fuel mixture again, and pretty advanced ignition timing and 7,000 RPM rev limit. That is causing some small issues when it comes to the reliability. Then again, in the 80s, you know, engines weren't all that reliable to begin with compared to today's engines. Like if you built this exact engine in 2015, it would have like probably around 70 reliability score here. And yeah, it's a V8. Again, we have 2 straight-through mufflers, and you could tell how much quieter this is than the V6 we just heard. And let's go to the trim here. We got a 5-speed manual again with a viscous LSD and pretty a little bit rear biased power distribution of the all-wheel drive system. We got 2 35s front and 2 45s rear, again sports tires and 16-inch rims, and excuse me for that, and 2 pistons on the front as far as brakes go and 1 in the rear, a little bit bigger size and a little bit more aggressive on the pad type. Fully clad under tray again, and the same wing angles as on the 300S. Cooling is again just enough, and we got a sports interior again of 4 seats and +5 quality this time instead of +3. Premium cassette still, and +5 quality on the entertainment as well. Still no traction control, because yeah, well, traction control wasn't really a thing back in 1985 yet. Standard safety is fine, and a little bit more camber in the rear. This definitely has revised suspensions, the suspension setup compared to the 300S. But then again, it's a different car. It's got a heavier engine, and so you need to change the suspension to make it handle properly, and it does. It's got 0.98 sportiness to 0.88 drivability. That's fine. It's sporty and still not too much on the oversteering side of things. So the overall stats, you can see the differences here. It's better in every single aspect compared to the 300S, but it's also 160 kilograms heavier and about, yeah, almost $4,000 more expensive to make. So the price difference would probably be around, you know, $12,000 to $15,000 in MSRP terms. Like if the 300S would cost like, I don't know, 35,000 bucks. This would be around 45 to 50 probably. And yeah, you gotta decide for yourself if that price difference is worth it to you. But it will do the quarter mile in 12.44 seconds. It's more than 1.4 seconds quicker than the 300S. And that is quite something. With the 0 to 100 in 4.3 seconds. And yeah, it's faster, it's more comfortable, it's better equipped, it, you know, it's more prestigious because it's got a V8 instead of a V6 and whatnot. It's also less economical, but who cares in a car like this? So yeah, I really like this car overall, except for maybe the quad exhaust right in the center here. It's a little bit silly, but overall I still think this is a pretty good car. Well done, well done. And we get another car to review though. It is the Protege, and it is made in 2020. If it would actually load. Nice. Oh, look at that. Nice. I like it. So yeah, let us see what this is made of. It is obviously mid-engine, as we could see. It is aluminium for the chassis, transverse engine placement, double wishbones front and rear, and aluminium for the panels as well. Nice. I like the front end very much on this car. Nice job. And it is rear-wheel drive. Has a V8 engine, a flat-brain V8 for that matter, magnesium block, dual overhead cams, 4 valves per cylinder, VVL. So this is not on the cheap side of things here. Billet steel crank, I-beam titanium conrods, lightweight forged pistons. No quality though. No quality, I gotta note that. And 3.6 liters of capacity. Pretty average cam profile, but a relatively aggressive VVL profile with 80, making that peak power at 8500 RPM with a rev limit of I think 9000. We're gonna see that a little bit later. 12.3 compression ratio, VVT on all cams, naturally aspirated, we saw that. Direct injection, throttle per cylinder, performance intakes, 95 octane run, 95 octane fuel I should say, and pretty rich fuel mixture to make for a lot of power. We get a little bit of well float as well, but should still be fine. You can see that it's got 77.5 reliability despite the 9000 RPM limit. So this is pretty much on par with engines like the Honda S2000 in that regard, like high reliability despite the high rev limit. We got long tubular exhaust with dual exhausts, well, long tubular headers with dual exhausts, and 2¼ inch exhaust pipe with straight from mufflers, and it sounds like this. Okay, so two things I didn't want to say while the engine was running. One, the engine only fits as long as it's not running. You can see that now that we're running it, this arrow is red, so it's quote-unquote too big, so it would need very good, you know, mountings and whatnot. And the other thing is, once the VVL kicks in at about 5000 RPM, slightly above, you can really hear that it's getting louder and louder. Before that it's kind of quiet, but that's down to those mufflers. So let's get to the gearbox, which is a 7-speed double clutch gearbox, and we get a little bit of overdrive. It's got an electric limited slip differential, so very expensive. Sports tires, 19-inch rims. Would you look at that? And 285s up front, 305s on the rear, and yeah, magnesium rims. That's, I mean, this is not gonna be a cheap car, but it's cool. It's light. It's gonna be pretty fast, I'm sure. We do have a little bit of brake fade though. That is interesting on a sports car like this. We're gonna get to that a little bit later. Fully clad under tray, a lot of wing angle in the front and not so much on the rear end, because we do have not only a lip but also a wing, whereas we only have one lip on the front. Cooling airflow is sufficient. We do have an active wing. I was not mistaken. I checked back because I was like, wait, what? Does this have an active wing? Yes, it does. It does. So 2 seats with sports interior, plus free quality. Siam Automotive Industries seem to put a lot of effort into their interiors, even if they're pretty stripped out. Not completely stripped out, which is what basic would be, but sport is, you know, pretty plain but still high quality. So premium head-up displays, what that means, all drive rates, including launch control, which is gonna be very fun in this car, I can imagine. And advanced 20s safety. That might be a little bit overkill with the plus free quality here, but we'll see. Active sport springs, semi-active dampers, passive sway bars, a very sporty suspension setup, and that makes for 67.8 sportiness with a 55.9 drivability rating. So this is not only very sporty, but also not that bad to drive. I mean, it's not the easiest car to drive, but it's also not, you know, terrifying. And it's fast. 11.16 seconds over the quarter mile. That is faster than, for example, you know, an SRT Viper. Like, that is seriously fast. And it costs 22,000 bucks to make, which probably puts it into a similar price category to the, what was I about to say? Yeah, the Lotus Exige S V6. Only that car has about 87 horsepower less. Well, it has 87 horsepower less, but it's also lighter. How would I compare this? Well, this is actually, this probably will fill the gap between that Lotus and, you know, the Ferrari 458/488 whenever it comes out. So this is right between there, I would say, and it does a really nice job at that. Like, on a straight line, in a straight line, it goes like hell, as we've just seen. What about the airfield track? does it in 121.8. That is not spectacularly fast, but it is fast. Probably less so than the Exige SV6, if I had to guess. But still, a very nice car. Looks good, drives well, is not that difficult to drive, has still some decent comfort in it, is very safe, maybe a little bit on the heavy side for its size though. So yeah, that was it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, click the like button, helps out a great deal. Subscribe if you want to see more in the future, but for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.